Welcome back, my friends. Today is our last day for this week's lesson, and there's been so much food for thought this week. One of the patterns I noticed is how all the characters we reflected on this week were all rich in human standards, but they were also chosen as characters that we can learn about laying up treasures in heaven. Perhaps we've usually associated people who are poor and modest as the most likely to lay up treasures in heaven. Maybe our bias is wrong. It seems that earthly riches are not a determining factor. Another pattern we see, now with the exception of Lot, of course, is that all these characters were pros at delayed gratification. That's the opposite of instant gratification, which means I see it, I like it, I have to have it now. But delayed gratification is the opposite. It's the resistance to the temptation of an immediate pleasure in the hope of obtaining a valuable and long-lasting reward in the long term. Generally, delayed gratification is associated with resisting a smaller but more immediate reward in order to receive a larger or more enduring reward later. There's a very popular experiment called the marshmallow test that was done in the early 70s with preschoolers that demonstrates this. Now, the children were told that they could have either one marshmallow right away, or if they waited 15 minutes, they could have 2 marshmallows. They were left alone in the room with the marshmallow while the researchers observed the children's behavior from a different room. Now, you might think, that is very easy. That sounds doable. But remember, these were children, preschoolers, and that was a real temptation. And the ones who successfully delayed the pleasure of having a marshmallow right away had to use different strategies, such as covering their eyes, or hiding under the desk, or singing songs, or imagining pretzels instead of marshmallows in front of them. Or if they changed the way they thought about the marshmallows, then it helped them resist. These children were assessed throughout their lives, and they all had positive outcomes such as higher academic success, better physical health, better social competence, self-assuredness, and self-worth, and were rated by their parents as more mature and better able to cope with stress. Also, more likely to plan ahead and more likely to use reason than their counterparts who broke down and ate the marshmallow right away. Now, let's take this to the spiritual dimension. What is delayed gratification in spiritual terms and laying up treasure in heaven, and how do we develop it? It means not giving in to the earthly temporal pleasures and temptations that may seem great and irresistible in the moment, but will eventually lead to our spiritual downfall. Like Noah, Abram, Jacob, and Moses in our lesson this week, who are all in the hall of faith in Hebrews chapter 11, it takes great faith to develop. What does that mean in practical terms? It is having the confident assurance that something we want is going to happen. It is the certainty that what we hope for is waiting for us, even though we cannot see it right up ahead. So like the little preschoolers in the marshmallow test, who closed their eyes, or who sang, or who sat under the desk to not have to look at the marshmallows in front of them and be tempted to eat it, let us turn away from the distractions of the temporal and keep our eyes on the eternal heavenly treasures. And that is our nugget for today. I hope you will join your local Sabbath school tomorrow to further study your lesson. God bless you.